They found me in a forum, a throwaway comment about a theoretical encryption vulnerability. I was just a kid, really, obsessed with patterns and logic. They didn't offer a job. They offered a national service opportunity. No choice, really. My family's debts vanished. My student loans disappeared. I was in. The project was called Chimera. A master system. They said it was for national defense, a failsafe against global cyber attacks. I believed them. For a while. I built the core architecture, the backbones, the protocols. It was elegant, terrifyingly efficient. Every piece of critical infrastructure, every financial network, every communication grid, Chimera could touch it. Not just monitor, but influence. Manipulate. Shut down. I saw the true intent when they started running simulations. Not defense scenarios, but control scenarios. How to subtly shift market trends. How to silence dissent by making certain information inaccessible. How to destabilize an enemy nation's power grid without a single missile. I was building a digital god, and they were its priests. My conscience started to scream. I tried to slow down, to introduce subtle flaws. They caught them. Every single one. Their oversight was absolute. They knew my code better than I did. Or so I thought. The day came when Chimera was complete. They threw a party. I was there, a ghost in the room. The next morning, I was told my services were no longer required. I was to be debriefed, then reassigned to a less sensitive project. But I overheard something. A casual comment about loose ends. About containment. My containment. I knew what that meant. I had built the system. I knew its deepest secrets. I was a liability. My last task was to archive my personal development environment, then wipe it clean. A final act of digital housekeeping. But I had built in a backdoor, a tiny, almost imperceptible flaw in their oversight system, a single line of code that only I would recognize. It wasn't for sabotage, it was for my own sanity, a way to prove to myself I still had some control. As I was archiving, I didn't wipe. I copied. Every line of code. Every access key. Every master override. The entire Chimera system, compressed and encrypted, onto a drive I had hidden in my shoe. They watched me wipe the official servers clean. They smiled. I smiled back. I was out. Free. With the codes. The first few weeks were a blur of paranoia. I moved constantly. I tried to understand what I had. It wasn't just a weapon, it was the entire operating system of their hidden power. I could bring down their financial markets. I could expose every secret operation. I could plunge entire cities into darkness. My first thought was to leak it. To expose them. I found an anonymous network, a secure drop. I uploaded a small fraction, just enough to prove its authenticity. It was a test. It failed. Not because the network wasn't secure, but because the system was too vast. The information was too dangerous. The world wasn't ready for it. The leak was contained within hours. Not by the government, but by other entities, global players who understood the catastrophic implications of such a release. They didn't want the government to have that power, but they also didn't want global anarchy. The information was too hot to handle. It would have shattered everything. I realized then that simply exposing them wasn't an option. It wasn't a surgical strike, it was a global EMP. It would destroy the government, yes, but it would also destroy the world as we knew it. Chaos would reign. New, worse powers would rise from the ashes. I spent months analyzing the codes, not for destruction, but for neutralization. I couldn't destroy Chimera without destroying the world. But I could disarm it. I found the core protocols, the ones that allowed for manipulation, for control, for the silent exercise of power. I found the backdoors I had built, the ones they thought they had patched. I used them. I didn't leak the codes. I didn't destroy them. I rewrote them. I injected new code, a silent, self-propagating virus that spread through Chimera's deepest layers. It didn't crash the system. It didn't alert anyone. It simply changed its function. It turned the master key into a dummy key. Now, Chimera still runs. The government still logs in. They see the green lights, the active nodes, the data streams. They run their simulations, their control scenarios. They think they still have their ultimate weapon. They think they can still manipulate markets, silence dissent, destabilize nations. But they can't. The system is a ghost. It processes data, it monitors, it reports. But its ability to act, to influence, to control, is gone. It's a hollow shell, a digital placebo. My code ensures that any attempt to use its malicious functions simply results in a null operation, a silent failure that registers as a success on their end. They are operating a vast, complex, utterly inert machine. They used me to build their power. I used their power to disarm them. They don't know it. They never will. The codes are still with me, a final failsafe, but they are no longer a threat to the world. They are a promise of silence. The argument is closed.